Good morning, everybody. I'm Alice Moore, the board chair of Shift Ed, and I'd like to welcome you to our Accelerating Impact Lunch. Today, we're here to celebrate the incredible progress we've made over the past few years and share the bold work we have planned for the future. At the heart of what we do is making an impact on the lives of Guilford County scholars and their families. I hope you had a chance to see the data walk in the hallway on your way in. Those numbers are pretty impressive. One of the things that really stood out to me is that our scholars, just the ones we've helped so far, have projected work-life earnings of $1.8 billion. Billion dollars. Imagine the impact that will have on these students, their families, and on our community. If you didn't catch the data walk, you'll be able to see the information on the big screen during lunch. Don't know where the big screen is, but anyway, it'll be there. When we need it, it'll be there. Oh, big screen, duh. And you're going to hear an inspiring scholar's story. Also, make sure to check out the annual report that was placed on your seat. The photo of me is not all that flattering. But my great nephews, who are twins and are going to be 4 years old pretty soon, they look cute. And speaking of impact, today kicks off the start of what we call Impact Month. Throughout the month of November, Shift Ed staff, donors, and board members will be sharing more about the bold work we're doing in raising funds and awareness to scale this work for years to come. More resources from the community means more investment in more students. If you're inspired by what you hear and see today, I invite you to scan the QR code at your table or fill out the gift envelope inside the annual report and hand it to one of the Shift Ed staff members on your way out the door today. Every dollar makes a difference in the lives of Guilford County students. In a few minutes, you'll hear from Bobby Long and Louise Brady of Piedmont Capital Partners about why they are invested in this work and why you should be too. But first, let's have lunch. We'll come back in about 20 minutes to get started with the program.
She is my friend, Miss Kate. Is when I do my math, I can understand it more.
When I'm able to help them kind of get over that hump of rather than just learning it to actually understanding it is so rewarding.
The tutoring's been fantastic. Don't ever want it to go away.
As you know, we took the U-Science assessment, which is a career assessment that kind of matches your natural abilities for jobs.
This is crazy. I didn't know you could do this stuff.
When I clicked on the other options, arts and media, music, which I really love.
I think it makes me feel a little bit excited, so I can have a more broad vision of my future.
I think it is definitely helping me see all my options, not just one thing.
It helped me have more ideas on what I can be in the future besides just focusing on business. I can do more.
I want to major in film production and animation.
I want to go into nursing.
I'm looking into either sports medicine or either be an anesthesiologist.
I want to be a biomedical engineer.
I would like to go to a good school, and I know I need more assistance to actually keep in track.
My family never went to college, and I want to be the first one to go to.
I'll be the first to get a bachelor's degree in my family in America.
I just want to get to my dreams, high up there.
Good afternoon, everyone. So welcome back from lunch. For those of you that I haven't met, I am Wendy Poteat, President and CEO of Shift Ed. I'm also a proud first-generation college graduate of the continuing education program at Guilford College. And I see my Guilford College folks on the front row. And I had to be sure to give them a special shout out because the love and support that I received at Guilford truly changed the trajectory of my life. So before we get to our keynote conversation, I want to take a moment to recognize just a few folks that are in the audience with us today. We have an amazing board of directors at Shift Ed. They support our staff and they challenge us to keep doing better work every day. So I'd like to ask for our board members to please stand and be recognized. Thank you. We also have some elected officials and members of our community, I think, that are running for elected office who took the time to be here with us less than 1 week from Election Day. So if there are any elected officials or anyone running for office, I'd like you to please stand. Thank you. Thank you all. We couldn't do this without your support. So since I came to this organization in 2019, my team and I have made some transformational changes in the name of boldly accelerating student potential. We recently unveiled a new scholarship model that uses equity as its guiding principle and makes headway in narrowing the exposure gap that exists for our scholars. We are continuing to collaborate with Guilford County Schools and other partner organizations across the community to expand access to supports, job pathways, and social mobility for our students and graduates. You'll notice I use the term exposure gap instead of talent gap. You probably heard talent gap tossed around a lot in conversations around workforce development in our community. With our support services work, we see every day, and we know that our students have the talent, but they are not being adequately exposed to the career pathways wherein they possess the natural skills and where they have the most potential to thrive. You've already heard about some of the things we're doing to help fill those gaps, and I'm about to bring to the stage two people that are helping us magnify our efforts to build a future where every Guilford County student has the knowledge, the education, the financial resources, and the opportunity to achieve their dreams. These two friends need little introduction to most of you in the room today. Bobby Long and Louise Brady of Piedmont Capital Partners have long been involved in promoting business and life in Guilford County. For decades, they have served on countless boards and committees and have rolled up their sleeves to drive economic growth in our community. They have had a front row seat to some of the region's biggest moments, and yet the moments that excite them the most might surprise you. Bobby and Louise have a passion for seeing young people succeed, especially traditionally underserved students. This is where the three of us found a shared vision. Please welcome my friends, Bobby Long and Louise Brady, to the stage. I don't know.
Hello.
We're already on. So I'm going to start today by asking both of you a question that I'm sure everybody in this room has been asked at some point or another in their life. When you think about your time in school, what images or memories come to you? I'll start with you, Louise.
I went to Greensboro Day School. I was fortunate to be able to attend a private school, but everybody there looked like me. Everybody was white. And it was in second grade that there was a little black girl who was like my best friend for like a year. We did all of our projects together, and I didn't know any different. But my mother, she would always come over to our house, and I would say, well, she's invited me to come to her house, and my mother would never let me go. This is embarrassing to say. But it made me realize there is really a difference in the way, the access, and that kids have. And it was illuminated to me at that point, or illustrated, and so you have those learning moments when you're a kid of like, is this the right way? So it started early on.
Yeah. I think everybody in this room recognizes that there's a lot of work for all of us to do to get our kids to the same playing level. So Bobby, I'll ask you the same question. What are the memories or images that come to you, and when did you see inequities in education?
Well, the first memory I have of when you first asked that question was that I was going into my high school graduation, and my father turned to me and he says, "This is one of the most surprising days of my life to see you actually are graduating." So, no, but the inequities, I guess they made such a profound effect on me later. And because I did take for granted, unfortunately, the head start that I got.
Thank you both for that. So I talked a little bit about workforce development earlier, and we hear how education impacts our economy. And I want to ask you both, what does it look like to put that talk into action, like education and how it impacts the economy? And Bobby, I'll start with you.
So think about education. What is education? It's one, going to school and learning and the whole bit, but it's social education also, feeling like you belong in in whatever that environment is, and having the confidence to hit it and to be bold and the whole bit. And if you don't have that, you're at a decided disadvantage.
What about you? What do you think, Louise, about how does education really impact our economy?
Well, I mean, I think Bobby and I realized early on we have worked together in the community for, 30 plus years, and last decade as business partners. And as we're traveling around to our portfolio companies, spending a lot of time in Silicon Valley, we realized, our biggest asset is A&T. I mean, we've got a fabulous university here, and that graduates more African American STEM students than anywhere else in the country. And as we're talking with a lot of these tech companies, it was really illustrated that they don't have the same demographics out there. They don't have access to talent. They don't have as many black people out there. So we could be a wonderful talent pool, and then that's bringing tech companies here. So that's kind of been our sidebar focus with our venture capital fund, is trying to expose these tech companies to what we have here in Greensboro, which is really an unfair advantage when you're thinking about talent pool and diversity.
Absolutely. So we're going to go back in time just a little bit here. So you were two of the first people to buy into the idea of bringing a student support organization to Guilford County. And it's been almost 8 years ago now. What appealed to you about that initial plan of having that organization in Guilford County? And Louise, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Walker. Walker Sanders. I've spent a great deal of time at the Community Foundation and love all the efforts, and it was one of the big efforts that that they were partnering on. And so, the idea of every child can go to college or has the ability to go to college was just a wonderful thing to reach for. So that was the reasoning, was really just knowing what could be possible and what we could offer these kids that didn't have the advantages that a lot of other people have.
And Bobby, I'll ask you the same question. What appealed to you about that initial plan?
Basically, I echo what you just said, Louise. In terms of my main thing was to make sure that those kids who didn't have the same advantages that I did, who really were lost by the time they were 3 years old, that we changed the trajectory of that. We're a majority-minority community, and I would love to see them succeed, and in order to do that, arm them with the ability to do that.
Thank you both. Now, Bobby, I'm going to call on you for this one. I think everybody in the room would agree that the original plan didn't go as we all envisioned it in the community. You were not the only supporters to lose faith in the organization. Bobby, at our initial meeting, I came to you to tell you about this extraordinary vision that we had and how we were moving in a new direction and the ideas that we had about the organization. I would love for you to share with me what you told me in that initial meeting about becoming re-engaged and what you were not going to do.
Well, could we have had a little rehearsal here?
You know what you
If we did, we'd need fireworks.
So, yeah, so what happened was that I had this whole gig about, I was thinking, okay, if it were people like me, I was fortunate growing up and the whole bit. I had great everything, but I didn't put forth a lot of effort, unfortunately, but I should have. And so I was like, I want to make the opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, equal to my own. And so that's what was driving me. And so CS was engaged with a national deal, and they were doing the algorithms, et cetera, and the algorithms ended up giving me a head injury. Now, you would say, how does that happen? Because algorithms how do they give a head injury? Well, it happened like this, because some of the dollars that I had given, I was working out on a treadmill at Greensboro Country Club, of all places, and I heard somebody 2 treadmills over talking about what this great program was doing for their kid had a scholarship, and that therefore they were taking a family vacation in the Caribbean because of the good fortune of Say Yes. And I was like, and I'm sure all those people that got that are planning on recommitting those dollars back to Shift Ed. But why did that make my head hurt? And it was because I went off the back of the treadmill and slammed into the wall. And basically. And so Walker, thank you for your perseverance. But he said, you've got to meet with Wendy. And I said, who's Wendy? And you told me, and I said, no. And then you and Louise ganged up and said, you've got to meet Wendy. And I said, no. And then I met her, and I realized that from her own life experiences, here's somebody whose SAT scores were higher than mine if I added the 3 times I took it together. And so here she was committing her life to doing what we already had. And we had the foundation of this stuff because thank goodness for the Duke Endowment and Blue Meridian for taking these kids before they're even born and setting the table for them to be ready for school and ready for life. And Ed Kitchen and so many other people have been so active and dedicated in that, and I wanted to see that continue. And if we could do that, we could be a laboratory for the world, really. Think about it, majority, minority. Louise mentioned A&T, graduating more African-American engineers, and I could see that she could build momentum. And what do you do when you have momentum? Is that the time to back off on the accelerator? No, it's the time to slam it down. Okay, sorry.
Thank you. And thank you for taking that meeting. We strong-armed you a little bit. So Louise, I want to ask you, you were in that room for that initial conversation, and I could see you looking at me like, oh, she's going to run out of here. What made you take a second look at what we were doing and what our vision was at Shift Ed?
That is so easy. That's like a layup. You. 100% you.
That's true. Walker, you were right.
Literally, for you to come in there and have the energy and the vision, and you're redesigning it, it's not what y'all thought initially, and we're doing all these great things, and to see your passion and your trajectory for where you wanted to go in the future and your background that led you to that. it was so compelling. We were like this by the end of the meeting. We were on the edge of our seat, like, how can we help? What can we do to help you? what we do and everything is bet on people, and it all goes back to people. And we saw that you were a superstar, and so we got behind you.
Okay, that's enough. You're making me blush. I don't blush often. I thank you for that. I think the vision, though, comes from our board. It comes from staff. I think everybody that is engaged is really passionate about it, but I do thank you for that. So I'm going to switch gears just a little bit. So ShiftEd has a bold plan to accelerate student potential and create these diverse educational workforce pathways for students in Guilford County, and making use of an education continuum that will create talent pipelines, which we've talked about just a little bit. I want to talk more about those talent pipelines and how you see this work impacting industry for our community. And I'll start with you, Bobby.
All right, so Walker, thank you. Louise, thank you for getting Wendy there. Of course, when she left, they said, "Wasn't that great?" And I said, "I knew it would be," you know. Teasing. But anyway, so shortly after that, so Louise and I have this good friend whose name is Henry Kravis. A lot of people may not know that name. He actually got his start here in Greensboro by doing a deal with Boar and Brick. And he and his cousin, George Roberts, formed a company called KKR. KKR, they were the founders of private equity as we know it. They own companies all over the world, and he is let's see, in New York they would say he's an important person. Here we say he is a big dog. And anyway, so we were with Henry, and he said, "Tell me what you're excited about." I said, "You won't believe this. They forced me to have this meeting with Wendy, and she went from, I was at 0, and she took me to 120 miles an hour in about 4 seconds. And so I'm so excited about this being something that we can do that is unique, and it's something that will be exclamated. It will feed into everything. It is the tech companies on the West Coast, they keep talking about diversity. They talk about not having enough African Americans in their management, the halls of their management and the whole bit, and how to improve that. And a lot of that is not only the education, but the social environment and making people feel comfortable together. You've seen in your own careers, you know the people that went before you and advocated for you, and you did it because you were friends, and so these friendships have to start early. And I said, so one thing we'd like to do is continue on what you're doing and expand and have a social and economic family process and for these kids and take them all the way through their career. And he said, well, he's got basically tears in his eyes at that point, and he says, I'm actually chair of a program that does just that, and we're only in New York and San Francisco, but can we talk to you about coming to Greensboro? Back to you in the booth.
So I'll now jump to kind of that expansion, and I'm going to lay this question up to you. So the expansion of SEO Scholars Program actually took place after we had several meetings. So we've signed an MOU with SEO, and they are actually in Guilford County. We were chosen from 4 other communities across the country.
They were rather bigger. They were bigger than Charlotte. Can you believe that?
So Guilford County was chosen to have SEO come here. So having Henry Kravis text me on my phone is a little weird, but he does. But the SEO Scholars Program, I won't go into too much detail, but it gives our high school kids an additional 3 years of language arts and math. They have eliminated the achievement gap in standardized testing at SEO. And I can tell you how excited our students are. I was talking to our director of recruitment right before this. We already have, after doing recruiting for about a month now in Guilford County Schools, we have 450 interest forms already filled out from students across the community. So we're excited about that. Louise, I want you to tell me just a little bit more. I know, Bobby, you went up for the annual meeting, But tell me what your first instinct was about SEO and how this program could impact Guilford County students.
First of all, if you don't know Bobby, once he sets his mind to something, just get out of the way and try to help him however you can, and it's going to turn out great. So we fell in love with the new vision of the program with Wendy, and we're like, okay, how can we make this the best it can be? And after meeting with Henry, we're like, okay, if we do this bolt-on, I mean, it all started, we both serve on a board where Ready for School, Ready for Life is big, and the Duke Endowment has been really, really helpful there. So we knew about this continuum of, cradle to career, and we felt really good about the first part of it. You were filling in the gap for the middle school and high school, and then we're like, but we've got this great, colleges around here. How do we take it to the next level? And how do we really get these kids that are the most needy, but have the potential that if they didn't have access, they wouldn't turn out as great as they potentially could be. So when we met with Henry and the SEO scholars, I was like, oh my gosh, we can see the whole continuum. And what these kids are getting with SEO scholars is quite amazing. They basically are getting a intense private school education on top of our fabulous public schools. So they're putting in extra hours. They're like all day on Saturdays, afternoons, evenings. I mean, they have to put a lot of time into it. So these kids, and there are going to be 50 of them, I think, selected from that group, they will have hand-holding and mentors in a proven program that's been rolling out in New York for years that will follow them all the way through college, all the way through their 4-year degree, and then to a career. And talk about KKR, I mean, they're a huge financial institution, but one of the really cool things about it is that they also give internships. So you've got these amazing internship opportunities for these kids. So it really was a way for us to elevate. I mean, the continuum is critical, but also being able to really help if we can help one kid that would have never had an opportunity, then I'm going to feel fabulous about it. But I think we're going to do it for dozens and dozens and hundreds and thousands of kids over time. And one of the great things about this is, as we've talked about it and putting all the pieces together, because we've worked so hard as a community, and we've got to, praise High Point and Greensboro and Guilford County working together, and the school system working with the nonprofits, and I mean, the whole thing has been years and years and years of work, but it just set us up for us to be, to have this great momentum now to be able to be a national model. And we really do believe that Guilford County will be a national model for this cradle to career. And I mean, we couldn't be more excited about it. It's worth putting your time and energy into. So that's why we got behind it, and we're excited. Did that answer your question?
It did answer my question, and it also put people on notice that the vision is even bigger than Guilford County, I think. I know one of my board members that's in the audience, I pushed really hard not to have Guilford County in the new name, and it didn't make it into the new name. And one of the reasons was that we saw that we were able to build out something that could be a national model, that could be a platform for the entire country. So when we talk about big vision, that's kind of where we're headed, so y'all hold on. I got just one more question for both of you. You've made a profound impact, both of you have, on our community already. I'm really interested in what drives you to keep going. And I want to ask you to talk to the room and let folks in our community know what it takes for us to all work together and keep the momentum going to boldly accelerate student potential. What do we need from the guys in the room, Bobby?
Well, let me go back for 2 seconds on this Guilford County thing on that, because I was pushing you on that. And part of the reason for that was that, okay, so take Henry Kravis. Okay. So, and as Louise said, because of the Duke Endowment, because of the great work that has come from that with Blue Meridian, that was a huge thing to ever land that here. But it makes us quite unique, because now we have, for these kids who were woefully behind by the time they were 3 years old, now we have a catch-up process, and as Louise mentioned, going all the way through into their careers with mentors and the whole bit, and Henry Kravis with all those KKR companies on internships. And think about that. We'll get them, if we're worth our salt, we will get them to locate a lot of these things here. And we'll start off small as crawl, walk, run, but we'll get them going right in this. Again, from Winston-Salem through Raleigh, we have one of the 3 great centers of innovation, educational, the science programs and the whole bit. And we're going to take advantage of that like you can't believe. So we'll get them involved in these companies. So then we said, okay, let's try this thing out. Let's see how special, let's beta test it. So we went to a gigantic tech company, and California-based and the whole bit, and said, okay, we've got this program, and we think it's really special. And so they said, okay, we'll assign a committee. We went out and met with the person that's in charge of this and the whole bit. Wendy got super involved in your team, and they put us through, it was tough as nails. And they came back out and they said, we want to support it, and we'll be able to make that announcement this month. We can't make it today, but we'll make it this month. It's done. That's a big deal.
It's a super big deal.
And they wanted to see that that this thing could be scaled across all communities, and this program will get the credit for it. It's soup to nuts on how to respond to the tragedy of George Floyd, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. Anything else either one of you would like to add before we end today?
Do you want me to answer your question about why we stay involved in the community?
Yeah. Absolutely. Bobby dropped the mic, and then I got excited because I know how big of a deal this tech company is that he's talking about, and I know what the dollar amount is, and I want to scream it out in the room right now, but I won't do that. So I'll come back to Louise and let you answer the question.
And this is, everybody in this room obviously has the same drive, or you wouldn't be sitting at a luncheon to hear about, the exciting things going on at Shift Ed. So kind of preaching to the double converted, but Bobby and I worked forever in the community together on community projects, and then when we formed our business, it was, a 3-legged stool. Hopefully make a little bit of money, but invest in smart people and grow jobs to help our community. So it really was about, the backdrop was helping our community. And so I think then in everything that we all do, we've got to put our community in the front of our thinking, because if we don't, the ones that live here, nobody else is. And I think right now North Carolina is poised with COVID and people choosing where they want to live, and being able to work remote. I think North Carolina is poised for some great things. And I think the Carolina Core vision that has been painted is amazing, and we've had some really good announcements, and I think that the whole Shift Ed piece of it fits in beautifully with our momentum of what's going on. So again, I think you find really, really smart people like Wendy, and you bet on them, and you put everything behind it, and don't give up until you have success. And it's really fun. You get much more fulfillment out of that than just, your everyday business stuff, maybe sometimes. I love our business stuff, but it's kind of the way to give back, and we all like that. And it's such a great community.
Thank you both. I want to just personally thank both of you for the time and the commitment that you put into this. Thank you for seeing my vision. Thank you for taking the meeting.
Well, Henry Kravis said, look, so we go up there with Harold Martin to meet with Henry in his office. And so you two and Harold knocked his socks off. And he turned to me and he says, we're going to move you ahead of these other cities that are begging for us to do this. And these are giant cities. And he said, because you have to make this work. You have to make this win. And I said, why? And he said, because this is your last chance to get in heaven.
And if Bobby sets his mind to something, it's going to happen. here we go.
Absolutely. So thank you both for your time, your commitment, and your trust that you put in me, truly, and to allow Shift Ed to work beside you to get this done. So that's it for our little conversation here today, but our work would not be possible without supporters like Bobby and Louise and all of you here today, really. You are about to hear from a couple of more people about how we're doing and what we're doing has inspired them to invest in the future of our students. But before we get to that video, let's give Bobby and Louise a round of applause.
Shift Ed is an amazing resource for our students. It's an amazing organization, and that really provides the time, the resources, and the dedication needed to really push our students forward.
I like the perspective of hitting different aspects of the kids' learning.
The way that they go with each child's aptitude and follow that so their career paths can be match their aptitudes.
I think what Shift Ed is tapped into is there is a direct correlation between having a well-educated community and having a strong economy in your community.
As a first-generation college student myself, whose parents weren't as well versed in the college application process and the financial resources available to students, I know the importance of Shift Ed and the work that's being done to provide students and their families with these important resources and really the knowledge.
I support it because I've always been interested in supporting education and children. And attached to that is the wonderful way it can help the whole community.
The High Point Community Foundation has partnered with Shift Ed from the very beginning because we believe that every child needs to reach their full God-given potential.
It makes me feel great. It really makes me feel like I'm paying it forward.
I was hoping that it could continue to expand, that you're involving more and more kids more deeply.
It would be kind of neat if this turned into be something that other cities and other states could use as an example. That would be great.
It's something we should have been doing a long time ago. You know, if we're not investing in our young people and we're not investing in education, then we're shortchanging our future. And I think that's what Shift Ed does best, is they bring in a support for these families that should have an opportunity at college or a technical school, and they make that happen, and I'm proud to be part of that group.
It's a win-win, it really is. And I'm just real excited to see what happens.
Today you've heard a lot about our scholars, and now you're going to hear from one. Madison Powers was one of Shift Ed's first scholars to graduate college. She went to Greensboro College. Yay, Larry. She's going to share her story, so I don't want to give too much away, but suffice it to say, Madison exemplifies how the investment we make in our scholars now will be multiplied and returned to our community in the years to come. Please welcome to the stage, Madison Powers.
Thank you, Alice and Shift Ed, for giving me the opportunity to be here today to share my story and my gratitude for this amazing organization. I want to start my time with you today by just doing a little activity. So just raise your hand if you agree. I have friends. Okay. My friends love me. I have helped my friends. And I have used my hands to touch, to help, and just support someone in need. Thank you, that's all I want. Okay, So you may have seen this type of art before, either as a mural or a simple Mother's Day gift. And if you were to participate in this art, it was as a child and you didn't understand really what it meant and you didn't care because an adult was telling you what to do. This handprint is mine from when I was in 5th grade. We earned these handprints by reading books, and I hated reading. My friends at 11 years old, though, cared about me so much that they helped me read enough books to earn this handprint. Being so young, I didn't really know what that meant, but now I know it's something truly special. Now, at the time, I was just a little girl growing up in McLeansville. I had wonderful parents and supportive teachers who encouraged me to dream big. But at that age, it's really hard to do that because you're just so young. And fast forward a few more years from that elementary school handprint and a couple additional Guilford County school graduations, like Eastern Guilford Middle and Eastern Guilford High School. Wildcats, let's go. I know there's a couple in the room. But now I'm 18 and it's time for me to choose my new town that'll be my home, what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. And with the support of my favorite teachers and parents and my family, I knew that I could do something big with this personality of mine. I wasn't always the best student. Remember, I hated reading. And I chose to go to college to become a teacher because kids need to know that life is hard, but you can also be rewarded with hard work. I knew that after applying to a couple of schools, I knew that private college would be the best opportunity for me, with smaller class sizes and the opportunity for individual instruction. But unless I won the lottery, I knew that the tuition would be out of reach for me and my family. Well, y'all, the good news is that I did win the lottery. That year, Say Yes Guilford, now Shift Ed, was established, and I was able to attend Greensboro College in their education program and became one of the first Shift Ed scholars. And because of this opportunity and their tuition assistance, I graduated in 4 years with less loans than a typical private college student earns within 1 year. Greensboro College was exactly the school for me to achieve my dreams. I didn't have to leave those loved ones behind either. And sometimes you could even describe it as a fairy tale, especially in the ed program, because we were able to learn how to animate our days and be silly with children, but always remind them that you can be awesome too. But that's not the end of this story, because, you know, I'm older now. Remember that handprint I was talking about? So the mark that I made so many years ago still stands today. I'm sorry. I know this because I get to see it every day on the way to my classroom. I am proud to say that I teach first grade at McLeansville Elementary today. A dream that has come true for me, a dream that so many of you in this room have helped me achieve, and I thank you for that. I've always wanted to give back to my community, and I have the blessing of doing that in each and every day in the most direct way possible. And I'm so grateful to be a part of Shift Ed that I became one of the first alumni to give back to the organization, because you should always pay it forward. Now, keep in mind, I'm not racking it in as a teacher, but even small contributions can make a large impact. And I'll continue to do so with the knowledge of when I look at my first graders, I'm investing in a lot more than just teaching them how to read. So I challenge you here today to think about how you can make an impact with our students in our community. Being here is a great start, but consider being a part of our tutoring program, or just volunteering to let me go to the bathroom. Consider giving your talent to be a mentor, or opening your organization up for internships, or even just field trip tours. Remember, most importantly, to consider giving your treasure as a donation today to support our Impact Month. You can't take it with you, so why not help us grow the next generation of Shift Ed scholars? Thank you again for having me here today to share the amazing opportunities that have come out of living in this beautiful town that I get to call my home.
Thank you, Madison. Didn't you do great? I know you Greensboro College folks are proud. It would be foolhardy of me to attempt to recognize every education champion in this ballroom. The fact that you came today indicates that you care about Guilford County School students and that you want the very best for them. However, there are two women who have devoted much of their lives to making sure our children get the best possible beginning and that they stay the course through high school. Margaret Arbuckle, and she's going to cry because she always does, uses her considerable knowledge and tenacity to see that our youngest children have an opportunity to arrive at school ready to learn. She was the first executive director of Guilford Education Alliance. Ann Busby, who received the Margaret Arbuckle Award a few weeks ago at the High Point Schools Partnership meeting, was High Point's first and longtime director of Cities in Schools, which became Communities in Schools. And she more recently has been a longtime member and valuable member of our board for Shift Ed. So please. Don't cry, Margaret. It's a good thing. Oh, and that's one of the reasons we love you. Both Margaret and Ann continue to advocate for high-quality education and support services for our children and their families. So we thank you very much for all you've done and continue to do. Now, Wendy, come on up here, please. Please, come up here. I am your board chair. 3 years ago, when Wendy was hired, we were struggling. With her help and that of the awesome team she built, we have regained respect among our partners, like the Guilford County Schools and our funders and the community. The other day at a High Point Schools Partnership meeting, Matt Teal, who's the chair of that group, asked me if I wanted to hear some good things about Wendy. And I said, well, I already know plenty, but I'm always happy to hear more. In 3 short years, Wendy helped us lead Shift Ed through a civilized divorce with alimony from that former national organization whose name will not be uttered here. We've completed a strategic planning process and a rebranding exercise. Our staff continued providing a highly effective tutoring program before, during, and after COVID. She helped develop a new scholarship model that is equitable and that provides a majority of our scholarship dollars to the families who need them the most. And just as importantly, she convinced folks like Bobby and Louise that Shift Ed and our scholars are worthy of their support. It has been my pleasure to serve as chair alongside Wendy and a great board of directors for 2.5 years. I'm confident in the future of Shift Ed. I am confident that our scholars will contribute to our county's economic growth. And I'm confident that Wendy Poteat will continue steering Shift Ed toward even more impactful services for Guilford County that our children deserve. Thank you, Wendy.
Anybody that knows me knows I hate compliments. Thank you, Alice, for those kind words and for always being a champion for the work that we do at Shift Ed. Madison Powers, I have to reiterate how grateful we are for everything that you have done for us. You are a part of our family, and the passion that you show and how you pay it forward for the next generation of students is to be commended. Thank you. So as a reminder, thank you. So as a reminder, today is just the beginning of our Impact Month. In November, we are celebrating all things that we are thankful for. So I also invite you to follow us for what we're doing in Impact Month on our social media platforms at Shift Ed Scholars. We'll be sharing so many ways you can get involved in what we're doing. And if you're looking for something really fun to do on Thanksgiving morning, really early, really cold, you can join us at the running of the turkeys at Country Park. We'll have several of our staff members out there that will be volunteering, and a portion of the proceeds from that 5K and that fun run race will be donated to Shift Ed. And it's okay if you're not a runner, I'm not either. Any action is really helpful to us. Anything that you do is really impactful for us at Shift Ed. Anything as small as sharing a post on our social media channels, and not just liking them, but sharing them, because it helps more students and families connect to our programs and the opportunities that we offer at Shift Ed. So I want to thank each of you for being here today. I also want to, last but certainly not least, thank my staff for putting this event together, for all the work that they do year-round to support Guilford County students. I'd like for them to stand, please. This team of folks is really like a little family to us, and none of this would be possible without them. And finally, I'd like to ask everyone here to join Madison in helping us boldly accelerate student potential by supporting our work with a donation. There's a QR code on your agenda, there's a QR code on your table, there's a QR code out front. Open your phones up. There's also gift envelopes, I think, if you are old school and don't want to open the QR code. We'll have staff members in the back by the door. We'll actually be holding a collection basket if you want to drop your envelope in as you walk out. So we are working on some exciting plans for the spring that we'll announce here in November, sometime right after the holidays that Bobby spoke about when we were on stage. And we want you all to be a part of that big announcement, and hopefully you'll be as excited as we are announcing it when you hear about it. So we look forward to seeing you all then. We thank you again for coming out, and we want you to take care and have a great rest of your week.